I'm going to tell you the funniest thing that ever happened to me in my life, and I consider it a gift because it's something that I can shut my eyes and remember and literally curl up into a little ball with tears in my eyes, even if I'm on my own. So it's something I'd like to share with you. And whilst I appreciate you might not see it from my point of view as funny as I do, I will try and do it justice and paint this picture for you, because we've got to laugh, we've got to carry on remembering funny things, and that's got to drive our personalities forward through this, because we we got to face up to a lot of things at the moment that this really is it. Despite people's willing or wanting to fight the inevitable, the plug has been pulled on us, and we are entering a new world, and laughter and humour is going to have to play a part of this. So I'm going to tell you, as I said, the funniest thing that ever happened to me, and here we go. I was in my late 20s, and I took a job working in a satellite office, which was a sales and marketing, advertising, conference exhibitions to support an industry with a head office a couple of 100 miles away. And basically it was the officer rogues. We were the ones that went out and did the deals and made the money and chased the clients, etc. Head office supported us with the admin, the accountancy, literature, etc., etc. So it was a symbiotic business relationship, but we were kept very much at arm's length because really most of our backgrounds were in marketing and advertising. So most of us, there was only three there, but I'll get to that in a minute. So give you a bit of background. The people I worked with were 25, 30 years older than me. Lovely people. We just clicked. Used to go to the pub, used to go to restaurants, drive around the country seeing clients, take trips down to head office together, which was always really interesting. And it was just a really good environment to be in. I'd worked with lots of young people in offices, marketing, and I was a bit bored of it actually. By the time I was in my late 20s, I appreciated an older set of people who just took things that were, don't get me wrong, we had to make money, but they were adult about it. There's no bitchiness or nastiness. So fantastic. Anyway, we had this fourth seat. One year we were doing really well. We used to laugh a lot in the office as well. It was an office of laughter, just the three of us. We had our routines and our biscuits and that, and our joke morning hours and all that kind of stuff. And we were friends. But we were doing quite well one year. We kind of gelled, and we got a good system going. Thought, right, we need a fourth person. So it became known as the hot seat because we tried a variety of people over a course of a year, and no one stuck. Nobody got or grasped that it wasn't a regimented situation. It was a group of people trying to get on and make some money and do the deals, and it was an adult situation. But there wasn't really many people that could hack it. So anyway, one day we got a bit excited because an agency sent us this guy, and I'm going to call him Nigel for the sake of argument. His name wasn't Nigel, but I'm going to call him Nigel. And Nigel's CV, because we all had a good look at it, obviously, and we all had a part in interviewing him because he'd be sitting next to us in a small office and travelling with us, and it's a close-knit thing. So his CV looked really good, and he came along for the interview. He was a lovely bloke, a young wife and a kid, and he hadn't stayed in jobs for very long, but it was good. He had a good record, and he seemed to have made people money working in sales jobs. So we took him on a trial, and he got on really well with us. We went to the pub, and he just seemed like a good fit. Anyway, after a couple of weeks, it began to transpire that Nigel had something a little different about him. Nothing horrible, by the way, nothing like that at all. He was just a very distant, a very distracted man. He was very childlike in his mannerisms, and he needed a lot of organisation, and he needed, he was probably 15 years older than me, and it was clear that he didn't have administration skills. He wasn't that good on a computer, but he was good with the customers, and people liked him, and that's often more important than the technical skills they can follow. If you're good with people and you gel, then you're worth your weight. So yeah, we started to realise, as I say, that Nigel was a bit distant. And when we used to sit in the pub and have a drink, he started to open up after a few weeks and started to tell us about his previous jobs and how many of them had come to an end quite abruptly. And one of the ones was he worked for a well-known clothes. I won't go any further than that, just well-known clothes. And he was at a lunch break and he was sleeping upstairs, and he decided to sleep in a warehouse above a changing room for visitors. Anyway, so he was up there, and apparently he set the alarm off because he decided to have a cigarette while he was up on this. I can't describe it. He said it was like a mezzanine balcony above the changing room. He said that people just didn't use it. Anyway, set the fire alarm off. It alarmed him so much that he fell off, and he didn't realise there was somebody not in the one directly below him, but in the one to the right of him, and he hadn't noticed. And as he fell, his legs came down, smashed through their screen. He broke his ankle and kicked them in the shoulder and flattened them as well. So he said, well, he had to leave the job after that. So, fair enough. There was another example where he managed to tip a whole tray of paint over. I think I can't remember the exact details of this, but he was doing a job as a painter decorator, and this was when he was younger. He got into a right kerfuffle. Apparently, stepped on a plank. The plank flipped up, hit a tray of paint, covered two toddlers, baby girls, completely in purple paint. And the problem was he hadn't sourced the right paint, and everything he said just carried on. There wasn't just, oh, they're covered in paint. He said these girls were stained for about 3 weeks, and everybody knew him as the purple stainer in the area. Just tales like this, and we used to sit there in the pub with our drink, tales of God, and it was brilliant. He was just the stuff he used to come out with about when he was younger as well. And anyway, so we really warmed to him, but we knew there was going to come a point where he would do something with us, where we would get to see Nigel's play, if you like, what Nigel was all about. Because we'd organised him, and we'd get his tickets to go to places and make sure his cabs were, there. And it wasn't too difficult, to be honest, but shouldn't really have had to do it. Anyway, so once a year we have our work get together, conference, exhibition. All the big wigs come in the industry. They get a prize, you get speakers, you get buffet and drinks and afters in the bar and all that. And this year we hired a hotel in the West End of London and a function room and a couple of the bars. I think there was about 400 or 500 people there, and there was always eyes on us because we had contact with everybody in the industry in that satellite office. There wasn't a deal that went down, or a advertisement, or a shipment that went out that didn't have something to do with us for the industry. So all eyes were on us. But we hired a compere that year, and we did like a circus theme for the guests, and there was also a casino. And as per usual, people gathered in. Everybody has their drinks and their canapes, and everyone's in their suits, and men are in their tuxedos, women are in their evening gowns. Then you have a sort of a guest speaker, and then the kind of events kick off with the prizes, the award ceremony, which was at the time, still is actually quite a big thing. You get one of the awards, then it progresses your business in the industry quite well. So there's the four of us standing around, Nigel with us, and Nigel had to go home. Well, didn't have to, but he didn't see any reason to stay later. He's a family man with a kid. He wasn't going to stay in the bar with us drinking till 2, 3 in the morning, and then we all had rooms in the hotel. So he left at about 10 o'clock, Nigel did. Said, right, I'm off now. Just before the compere was about to do all his stuff. So we said our goodbyes and what have you. And on that particular evening, Nigel was wearing a 3/4 length beige Macintosh and had a briefcase in his hand. And he was a very tall, lean man with grey hair, sort of fairly long grey hair, and glasses. And in the Macintosh, he Unfortunately, he did look a bit stereotypical. He didn't actually fit in with what was going on around us all, because he had his suit on underneath, but the Macintosh and the briefcase really just... Anyway, so we're all there in our tuxes and ball gowns, and Nigel standing next to us in his Macintosh and his briefcase. And we're already having a good evening. With, the drinks were flowing. It was organised well. The food was good. There was no hiccups. The guest speaker had been on, and the compere had given us the nod, and we'd given him the nod back to say, "Yep, 5 minutes." I think it was about 5 to 10. So we were about to say our goodbyes, and Nigel turned around and said, "Right, I'm off now," and started marching off down the corridor. The other two people that I worked with were talking, and they didn't see what happened next. Anyway, so Nigel just head down, briefcase in hand, 3/4 length beige Macintosh, walks straight down the corridor, and there was just happened at the same time that he exited the door to the function room, a group of young women followed in, just stepped in front of him, and he must have instinctively just latched onto the back of them and followed them. Anyway, they went straight into the ladies with Nigel walking behind them. And I stood there watching this, and that was it. That was the moment I'd been waiting for, and it had been brewing up inside me for weeks, this had. I was beside myself, because I knew exactly what would happen in about 10 seconds' time. So, because of course Nigel had followed these girls into the women's toilet in this posh West End hotel in London, in a 3/4 length beige Macintosh, holding a briefcase, completely unaware and completely bewildered. So I grabbed my colleagues. Quick, I said, "You've got to just look at that door." And they were both, "What?" Because the door wasn't clearly marked. It was just a door about probably 15 feet away from where we were standing, just down a corridor of the exit of the function room. I said, "No, you've got to look at this door. You have got to look at this door." And I literally grabbed them both by the wrists. So we looked at this door, and sure enough, the door swung open. You heard 2 shrieks, and Nigel comes steaming out of the women's toilet with his briefcase, looking absolutely, he went beetroot red, and then he didn't sprint, but he just gave us a look, shook his head, and walked straight off down the corridor and out of the building. Right, so at that minute, literally, the compere of the evening to kick off the kind of festivities tapped the microphone. The music stopped in the room, and this is exactly what happened. We hadn't heard him speak before. We'd hired him from a celebrity agency, and he was about 5'2". Anyway, he had this big colourful top hat on, big colourful circus leader waistcoat jacket ensemble. Picked up the microphone and went, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2000 and beep beep annual award." And that was it. Nigel had literally just come out of the toilet. My colleagues and I were already in hysterics at this point. We were holding our sides. This was about 5 seconds before the compere started speaking. We were holding each other. As soon as the compere started speaking, that was it. We were on the... I was on the floor. My boss, who of the office himself, he was the guy, he was kneeling down. Now, he was so well known in the industry, and he was well known before this as a professional, very well respected man, not a small player in this field at all. And my other colleague had to cross her legs because she nearly wet herself. So this happened before the compere went, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen," and that as soon as the compere went off, as I said, that was it. And even the compere stopped, because the hysterics coming from the three of us at that point, having seen Nigel do his classic classic cock up at work, and then the compere to say that, it all just happened in the space of probably 10 or 15 seconds, and the whole thing played out. And anyway, you can imagine what happened. Everything stopped because the music had stopped, and the compere had literally uttered 10 words before we drowned him out in hysterics. We had tears rolling down our eyes. We could not get it together for about 15 minutes, and just to have a couple of hundred pairs of eyes on you when you're in that condition. We weren't drunk, but we couldn't be, because not until later, because we were working. But after about, I mean, really, we were laughing solidly for 10 to 15 minutes. After about 5 minutes, everybody got used to the fact that we were just laughing hysterically and got on with it. But we had to go and compose ourselves several times, and over the course of that evening, the three of us couldn't be within a metre or 2 metres of each other the whole night, because if we caught each other's eye, that was it. It happened a couple of times. See, I'm starting to quiver now, just trying to hold it in, because I caught my boss talking to this, well, let's put it this way, this guy was the one who shut all the retail down, stole everyone's pensions, and buggered off. His surname is a colour, but you get who I mean by that. Anyway, I saw my boss talking to, it was either him or his wife, I can't remember. It was a serious conversation, and he had his arms behind his back, and it was yes, nodding his head and everything. And anyway, he just caught my eye, and I saw his top lip start to shake, and he started to do a fake cough. This is a man in his 50s. He started to do a fake cough and said, "I'm so sorry, I've got to go to the toilet," and turned around and ran away. And I knew what he was doing. He had to go around the corner and just laugh. So I appreciate you'd have to think about this, and if you want to, but look at the thing in your life where you've had a situation that has made you just laugh hysterically. Perhaps it's a sequence of events like that, but it's usually where there's a build-up, isn't there? Where or you expect something, and then it happens, and then it's just classic, and then, well, that's for me what I'm going to try and focus on. Obviously not everything. Nobody wants a clown, but we do want more laughter. Cheers.